How's it going, everybody? This is Rob of Novakast, back with some more content, and this is going to be a gaming news video, but I wanted to kind of respond to it as I go along. This is, I guess, a follow-up for stuff that's going on with The Last of Us Part 2. I guess going over some of the game mechanics and story overview, or whatever is going on with the story. So I'm kind of curious on what's going to happen, what we're going to get to see. A couple things in particular that I'm going to point out at the beginning of this video, just so we're clear. Periodically, I will be, kind of like any reaction, I'm going to be periodically pausing and giving my thoughts on certain things. And I know some things, it's just giving my quick thoughts on, story, location, like when they talk about it. Any other mechanics as well as like if there's something that would kind of bug me. But we'll wait and see. I've for some reason, as I was getting ready, I clicked on the freaking part of it, and I don't know why I did that. So, anywho. Oh, one thing I want to point out is, especially with the stuff leaked about Abby, and I noticed that after the story trailer, or at least when they released the story trailer, they did not release anything involving Abby. So, this is something I'm actually wanting them to do in this. They have to bring up Abby. Because I know some people are kind of having issue with the fact that Naughty Dog, especially with the negative feedback about what happens to Joel involving Abby and the interaction with Abby. Me personally, I'm going to play the game regardless, but they need to bring this character up at some point in this video. Because if they don't, there is clearly something wrong, okay? And I feel like at this point they're only trying to do what they think is more profitable in some way. But whatever. Let's go ahead and get started. So here we go.
I don't know what happened. I was supposed to take her to the Fireflies and walk away. They were actually going to make a cure.
One thing I want to mention is, hearing this, I'm kind of wondering if, and I personally think it'd be really cool if they did it, especially with the Naughty Dog engine or the start of this game. I'd be curious if we played, especially with the stuff involving Abby, and spoilers, especially if you've seen the leaks, or if you haven't seen the leaks, involving Abby's father, who was apparently the surgeon, or one of the surgeons that Joel kills in this segment. I am curious if the first part of the game we start off with those moments where Joel is trying to save Ellie and he kills the surgeon, and then it just kind of cuts through the moments of escaping the hospital. I'd be very curious to see that. If anything, that would especially maybe show the aftermath and Abby distraught over the death of their father. So, all right, here we go.
The only catch, it would kill her.
Oh, that's another thing I want to bring up. I think a lot of people can agree with me on this too. Probably one of the strongest moments of The Last of Us, clearly the strongest moment, was probably, or at least in my eyes. You guys leave in the comments of what you thought was one of the best moments. The moment when the leader of the Fireflies tells Joel that pretty much they can make a cure, but in order to do so, they would have to, kill Ellie. and take the infection that's inside her brain in order to synthesize a cure. And Joel is, I guess in a sense, kind of the way I perceived it was kind of put in the same position again, where somebody he cares about has to die or is going to die. So he, at that moment, had an ultimatum, or either to let her die so humanity can thrive, or she saves, or he saves Ellie, person who he has grown to care about as sort of a surrogate daughter. And again, it is probably it just shows how much he's grown as a character and what he is willing to go through for Ellie.
The Last of Us Part 2 picks up Ellie and Joel's story several years after the events of the first game.
Wait, I gotta say, is that the cutscene of the original cutscene from the game, like the first game? I only ask because it looks a lot more detailed. Somebody leave in the comments, because I am curious on this. He looks a lot older in this. But then again, I could be just looking at the freaking original, and I just be like, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words.
Ellie and Joel have settled in Jackson, Wyoming, amongst a thriving community of survivors. With the threats of the world kept outside the town's walls, Jackson has been able to find relative peace and even stability. Ellie is now 19, lives on her own, and has been able to forge lasting relationships within the community.
Scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate our kiss from last night?
Okay. Another thing too, because I know I've seen some of the memes of this new girl that apparently Ellie has emotions for, and I don't know why I did probably because I usually do it for my videos, but I guess with some of the community, they've given the shit to this character. And honestly, I don't give a crap, okay? I've always been like, you do you. If you like men, you like women, and I don't care. It's not my place. But again, I know that there's been some parts of the community that have given this character and their design shit. And I'm just like, fuck it. I don't care. I don't fucking care. Just let it go. I guess in a way, it's like it's something that I've always been told is love is weird. Love can happen at any moment. But anywho, let's go.
However, this peace is short-lived. Jackson and Ellie suffer a violent and traumatizing event.
Now, I'm curious if this is, if they're talking about, what happens to Joel. I'm curious about that. Unless that's something completely unrelated. Because I was watching the interview, or the kind of discussion from Angry Joe, and they were talking about it. And I guess after a certain event, Ellie goes off and Joel follows after her, and I guess that's when Abby takes down Joel. So I'm kind of curious. As I said time and time again, I'm going to buy the game regardless. In fact, probably by the end of the month, I'm going to finish off paying my pre-order. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Ellie sets off back into the treacherous outside world in search of retribution and justice. Her journey will take her to new parts of the country previously unexplored in The Last of Us. The story spans multiple seasons and climates, from the snow-capped mountains of Jackson to the lush Pacific Northwest. Each introduces a wide range of exterior and interior environments for you to navigate and explore, rendered in meticulous detail and unprecedented scale with the latest iteration of the Naughty Dog engine. Our goal was to make these environments not only beautiful, but feel as grounded and authentic to the cities they're based on as possible.
I gotta say, it does look really good. Like, really, really good. And The Last of Us, let's be honest here, The Last of Us was a really nice looking game, even with all the decrepit areas that they have to go through.
Much of the story unfolds in what remains of Seattle, a massive...
Ooh, Seattle. By the way, I'm just gonna say right off, I used to live in Seattle, and it is a beautiful city. And I usually don't like cities. I think it'd be really funny if in Seattle they had this, unless they tore it down or something. They have this rock music museum or something like that, or music museum. It'd be funny if that'd be one of the places that Ellie explores through and interact. I think that'd be a really cool place for our characters to interact in. But, you know, I don't know. We'll see.
Former quarantine zone.
Okay.
Its locales are incredibly diverse, spanning a dense city center with a skyline of towering high-rises to the beautiful suburbs and stormy waterfronts that surround it.
Okay.
The city exhibits drastic shifts in architecture, elevation, and weather.
Okay.
And with Part 2, we've introduced new traversal mechanics that afford greater exploration and ways to navigate threats.
Can Ellie swim in this one? I mean, she's 19. She has to have learned to swim by now. But I'm curious about these mechanics, because you just showed us climbing on a truck, and that's basically what you could have already done in The Last of Us.
Ellie is not only able to climb and jump over gaps, but she can use ropes to scale vertical terrain or swing over obstacles, allowing you to discover new areas, resources, and side narratives. These more open environments also create new strategic considerations in combat.
Nice.
Whether it's to get the jump on enemies or bypass them entirely.
Okay.
The Last of Us Part 2 features some of the largest environments we've ever created. Horseback riding will allow Ellie to quickly cover some of these expansive terrains.
Nice.
Some streets are so flooded that...
That's actually really cool that we get to explore with more of the horse mechanic. It looks like, I stopped it, but it looks like we get to use boats, I'm assuming?
that a boat is required to navigate them.
Okay.
However, the world of The Last of Us is as lush and inviting as it is deadly.
Okay.
As Ellie uncovers the path to finding those who have wronged her, she must face the many threats of this unknown city.
All right.
In the wake of the pandemic and the fall of the quarantine zone, Seattle has become a war zone, where two warring factions find themselves in an ongoing conflict for territory and resources.
Okay, so I'm really, you know what, I'm going to say this right now. I'm really hoping they didn't, because in one of the freaking teasers, they had I think it was like a stop sign with the Fireflies logo spray painted on it. I'm really hoping they didn't just kind of pull a fast one on us, be like, hey, yep, it's the Fireflies, you guys know that, we're going to, and just kind of tease you with that. Something tells me, from what it sounds, especially with whatever this is, I'm gonna bet that we don't get anything involving the Fireflies in this one.
One of these groups is the Washington Liberation Front, otherwise known as the WLF.
Okay.
The WLF are a militia group that began as resistance to the military occupation of Seattle, and eventually wrestled control of the city from them. They are highly...
I kind of, you know what? No offense, but I'm gonna kind of miss the Fireflies. I really wish that would have been that should have been something a little bit, that have something that was already established. Instead of trying to introduce a new faction, unless of course, like, maybe perhaps between these factions there is some interaction with the Fireflies, but I guess that's something to be seen.
Trained, organized, and well-equipped with weapons they stole from the army.
Okay.
They occupy much of the city, imprisoning or killing trespassers on sight.
Hey, we got another trespasser, a girl. Did you see her?
Ooh.
On the other side of this bloody conflict is a group of religious zealots called the Seraphites, or Scars, defined by the self-inflicted deep cuts that they bear across their faces.
Interesting.
Like the WLF, they're deeply tribalistic and territorial. They're known for being stealthy, using overgrowth as cover, and they use more silent weapons like bows and arrows.
Interesting. Oh, jeez.
But beyond this conflict among survivors, the threat that originally brought the world to its knees is very much present. Every human is...
Oh, actually, I want to pause. This is something I've been kind of wondering, because I heard that they are introducing brand new infected of the Cordyceps. So I'm curious about this segment right here, just because with one of the... I'm going to say they came up with some really gnarly designs for the infected. So I'm kind of curious on whether or not they're going to bring back some of the basic ones, which I have a feeling they will, or and if so, are they going to bring up some new ones that we haven't seen in The Last of Us? So here we go.
In danger of falling victim to the infected.
Oh, jeez.
They are the recently infected runners who are more numerous and aggressive in this game. The blind but extremely deadly clickers, and the stalkers, who sneak and hide until they're ready to attack, surprising their victims with extreme agility and brutal violence.
I've noticed, okay, I'm looking at they actually have a lot more fungus than on the, was that say at the stalkers? Go back.
The blind but extremely deadly clickers, and the stalkers, who sneak and...
stalkers. Okay, I thought it said lurkers for some reason. But yeah, the stalkers, just seeing what we see thus far...
hide until they're ready to attack.
Like, I'm trying to find a clear... Okay. It looks like they have more fungus and more growth than the other ones did. Because they had, like, a little bit of growth on the older ones. But for this one, it looks like their face is just completely covered. That's actually really cool.
Surprising their victims with extreme agility and brutal violence.
Yep.
The Last of Us Part 2 introduces new stages of infected, such as the Shamblers.
Ooh.
Large, heavily armored enemies that are covered in...
Oh, that looks so cool. It's so freaking disgusting. I love it.
Pustules. Upon getting close to you, they expel a corrosive spore cloud that burns its victims.
Ooh.
But our most terrifying and lethal new forms of infected will have to wait until you play the game for yourselves.
Ooh. So they're not going to show us all of them. There's other ones that they want to introduce. Okay. I'm excited.
Overcoming these threats will require careful consideration of how you approach every combat encounter and how you leverage Ellie's unique skills, equipment, and the environment to your advantage.
I got something. Let's get in there.
The WLF patrol the streets of Seattle with guard dogs, which are capable of detecting and following you, even while in cover.
You think this guy's connected to the...
They can pick up your scent and alert their handlers to your presence. Listen mode will reveal your scent trail, so keep moving and cause distractions to avoid detection.
They could be hiding anywhere.
Okay.
25 years after the pandemic began, the world is completely overgrown. Use tall grass to hide from enemies and go prone to stay out of sight.
Oh, that's
However,
cool.
this form of analog stealth means you're never fully hidden. If enemies get close enough, they can discover you, even in grass.
Okay.
When Ellie is overwhelmed, running away is a viable option. You can also break glass or crawl through tight spaces to find new paths or areas to evade or take on your enemies.
That's actually, those additions are actually really cool. Especially with the guard dogs. Because if you guys, for those who have ever watched my Let's Plays of The Last of Us, you guys know I try to use stealth as much as possible, especially to see, like, where my enemies are. And the fact that, you know, now the enemies have guard dogs where they can sniff out where you're at, and there's a trail of where you know, have been going through. That's something to, like, really, like, that's one of the factors that you have to add to, you know, how you play the game. That's actually really cool.
In any given combat situation, you can flee an encounter and re-establish stealth to regain the advantage.
Oh, that's cool.
If you absolutely have to fight your way out, there are a variety of tools at your disposal. Ellie's more agile than most of her enemies. She can sprint and quickly dodge incoming attacks. Learning how opponents attack with different weapons and mastering the timing of your dodges will prevent you from taking damage and create opportunities to counterattack.
Okay.
You can use...
So that's, you know, I'm going to say that, and it seems like she has her, you know, her freaking pocket knife, unless she got a new one, but, yeah, I'm curious on how they deal with the gameplay, especially with, because it seems like, compared to Joel, she's a little bit more agile than Joel, and like any game, you have to pay attention to your enemies, on what they do, how they act, and so on.
Throwable items or well-placed shots to stun enemies
That's back.
before dealing a killing blow.
Nice.
Or
Ooh.
using them as a shield to protect yourself or buy some time to figure out your next move.
Okay, that was kind of cool. Where, and I'm hoping that's in the game, where you were using. If you guys were listening, Ellie was using that character as a shield, and when you shoot the other character, they call the person out by name. That was actually really cool. I'm curious on, like, interactions like that are in the game.
Ellie isn't always alone on her journey. Allies will take part in helping you navigate the environments, spot enemies, and meaningfully help you in combat encounters.
Okay. Oh, jeez. Ooh.
Between the human survivors and the roaming infected, there will be times where multiple threats are present, creating new strategic considerations and opportunities. You can choose...
Okay, that's I think we had... No, actually, the only time I can think of where they did something like that was in the DLC. Was it Left Behind? Where there was a moment where you had both the infected and the soldiers, or the, the hunters, and when there were like a few infected, you could use stuff like bottles or bricks to make noise to attract the infected directly towards the hunters or the other enemies, where they would basically kill each other. So I like that they are adding that.
Whether to attack these opponents separately and directly, or find ways to pit them against each other.
Yes, awesome.
Flee as they fight, or wait until their numbers have thinned out and engage with whomever's left.
And they're all just, I love that. They run away.
Our goal is to create unparalleled tension, coupled with deep systems that give you greater control and influence over your journey. As you play, you'll be able to invest in a broad collection of crafting items, weapon, and player upgrades through training manuals scattered throughout the environment and scavenging for ingredients.
Oh, cool.
These skills and upgrade manuals cater to a variety of playstyles, and the choices you make will create your own distinct experience.
All right.
We also wanted to extend that agency and personalization to your weapons through our new workbench system. Scavenge for parts to modify and improve your weapon's performance and attributes, all of which are visualized and become part of your character.
I'm gonna say this. So far, one, because I have to say it. No mention of Abby. That is concerning to me. But I will say, involving gameplay and some of the story stuff, as well as the infected, I'm still wanting to buy the game. It looks fun.
Survival will also require using the parts and ingredients that you'll find in the environment, which can be crafted into a wide range of defensive and offensive items, like proximity mine.
I'm glad that they're bringing stuff like that back. I really am. I mean, you have to. You have to with this game.
Explosive arrows, pistol suppressors, and more.
Oh wait, we get explosive. So I'm assuming we get a variety of different arrows for the bow. That's actually really cool. Unless, of course, we just get explosive arrows. Yeah, just... oh, God.
All of these gameplay systems are meant to immerse you in the world and make you feel in lockstep with Ellie's emotional journey.
Yep, okay. There's the firefly symbol again.
As we've said before, this is Naughty Dog's largest, most ambitious game. It may seem like we covered a lot, but we've only scratched the surface of what it's like to play The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay, so, hold on. So, there's Abby again. And is it just me, or did they change the character for that cinematic? Okay, I gotta... Because I guess there's something else coming up. That's on the 29th. But all in all, I'm going to say right now, especially with everything going on, I'm curious. I am curious about this game. And I'm hoping there's more info. And I'd like to, as more stuff comes up, react to it and give my thoughts on it. Because, as I've said before, I enjoyed the first game. And I am basically shelling out a good amount of money to support this project. So, at least, when in terms of the collector's edition. So, I want to see this succeed. I really, really do. Hello everyone, thank you for stopping by to check out this video. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, as well as follow us on social media. Links are in the description. Check out gaming content from MJ, Aden, and Magi, as well as our daily content on the YouTube channel. Follow us on our podcast, which is 6 p.m. Pacific time on Sundays. From everybody of Novakast, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next video.